I'm on. Hi, I'm George Thomas with the Akron Beacon Journal. I'm joined by Steve Doerschuk of the Canton Repository, Marla Ridenour of the Akron Beacon Journal, and Nate Ulrich of the Akron Beacon Journal. And these guys are going to break down the Browns' interesting win over the Washington football team today. Sorry about that. I'm the last person who should make that mistake. But, guys, where do you want to start today?
Well, George, the Browns got off to a rough start today, too. And it was a weird game. It was a really weird game. I mean, there were times where the offense was just in a slumber. And it wasn't like it snapped out of it and never turned back. The third quarter was really bizarre. They came out with 3 and outs on the first 2 series of the second half, and it looked like they were going nowhere. And it was actually a turning point. I think that they were facing a 3rd and 12 on the second to last play of the third quarter. And Baker Mayfield connected with Odell Beckham Jr. for a 15-yard completion and a first down. And that they actually kept rolling after that. But I don't know, guys. I mean, just for the Browns to get 5 takeaways, to score 24 points off them, I thought it was a sign of growth. The offense was far from a juggernaut today, but it was very opportunistic.
Yeah, and I really feel like that's a formula that they can use going forward. So, you've got some injuries. You might not have the most talent, especially at linebacker and in the secondary. But I really feel like getting those takeaways and scoring off them, and just, I don't know. It seemed like, even though this defense keeps plugging another hole seemingly like every week, but it does seem like they're bonding, and they do seem to. That was a cool little celebration they had in the end zone. Every time they got a pick, they'd run down there together and pretend like they were taking a picture. I mean, I just thought that it showed some signs that they're becoming a pretty tight unit, even though it's got a lot of people making big plays that some people have never heard of. So, you also got to look at Myles Garrett making a huge play for this second consecutive game. This time, I think it was like 6.5 minutes left. And the coolest part of that for me was that he not only caused the fumble, but grabbed it before he took it away from Haskins. So now if he starts making those plays in the first quarter, they might really have something.
Have you think we finally see Myles arrive the way he was hyped up to be coming out of college? Is this his year?
Well, it looks like the plays he's making that's what you're paying him for. And I do feel like it's saying something that, he had this whole off season of how is he going to be? Is he going to turn around from the suspension? And I really do feel like he seems like he's in a great place, physically and, kind of ready to carry this defense. So it bodes well.
I mentioned Beckham earlier, and I want to ask Steve about him because I think Steve tracked Beckham for every play today, and I thought Beckham quietly had a really productive game. Steve, what was your view of that?
Nate, I want to say that I have a different view of Odell Beckham Jr. now, after, as you said, tracking him for every play, kind of making my whole focus trying to find out exactly who this really key guy in the organization is, and whether he's a businessman, a pouter, or a producer. What is he? What's he going to look like when you're actually paying attention every play? Because you always see the conspicuous ones, some of the ones that gripe us every now and then about he was open on one play and was waving his arms because he didn't get the ball. Those tend to be noticed and add to his reputation as a bit of a diva. But today I found that Beckham was super businesslike and really impactful on everything that happened throughout the game, sometimes in very subtle ways, such as at the start of the game, just running some innocuous routes that weren't going anywhere, and he wasn't going to be the target on those plays. But those innocuous routes struck me as pure setups for some of the plays he made later in the game. One of them, a sideline play where he put a move on and caught a 15-yard pass on the right sideline. another probably as key as any offensive play in the game, where he had the defense anticipating that he was going to go upfield or to the right, and he made a quick cut, lost the cornerback, cut in front of a linebacker, and caught a 3rd and 12 pass for 15 yards. But in addition to that, it seemed as though every time the Browns were in a key stretch and were about to score, he was doing something to set up their scoring plays. So my conclusion today was that his stats, what were his stats? 6 targets, 4 catches, 59 yards. Okay stats, but nothing you would notice. But if you watch him from play to play, as I did today, I really noticed him and I really appreciated his value on the team.
Did you not beforehand? Just out of curiosity.
Did I plan to do that?
No. Did you not?
Oh, well, no. I didn't know. I'd never done this, George. I'd never watched him every single play. It's the kind of thing that would be fun to do with everybody. You have to pick and choose your spots on who you're going to watch. But he's a superstar, and just struck me today that I don't know as much about this guy as I should. Now, George, I am on record a couple of different places on different platforms saying that I thought the 2019 acquisition of Beckham was one of John Dorsey's tragic flaws. I still think that might prove to be true, but I think less that is my hard conclusion right now. I think that it might not. It was a tragic flaw for Dorsey. He's gone, not coming back. But Beckham and Dorsey getting Beckham might still prove helpful for the team.
George, you sent me a note during the game. Do you remember about Beckham playing a little defensive?
Yeah, I don't think that's something you see last year. I mean, the one serious pick opportunity I remember for Mayfield, he plays quarterback on it to ensure that the Washington defender doesn't catch the ball. And it looked like it was going to be a sure interception. In all sincerity, I don't know that Odell Beckham Jr. last year does that. And that's like, and I think I said to you, wow, he's balling today, because that tells me you're engaged. That really does.
But guys and girls, that was one of the key plays in the game too, one of the top 5 probably, because if he hadn't done that, they wouldn't have kicked the field goal shortly after that, and those were pretty important points at that time.
You don't know, but it might be a sign that maybe he and Baker are in a better place as far as their relationship. I mean, maybe he wants to do that because if they are, kind of getting on the same page. So who knows?
I'm glad you mentioned that, Marla, because I'll cut off of the Beckham diatribe here. But one of the things I did in watching Beckham was watch him on the field and off the field. I counted 0 times that Baker Mayfield and Odell Beckham Jr. talked to each other during breaks. But I also noticed that that's not abnormal, that people don't talk to each other. Mayfield, for example, spent the time he did spend huddling with other people, either with coaches or with Case Keenum. So even though that was the case, even though in a vacuum you could have said, wow, don't they like each other? Just the way the sideline looked all day. They weren't gabbing a lot. They were watching the game, everybody.
But see, I noticed the chemistry on that one sideline play, the one sideline pass, when Mayfield was scrambling and found him. And again, it was a year ago. It's a season ago. I don't think that happens last year. I really don't.
Another big play, George.
Pardon?
Baker didn't
game. Got the offense off the schneid, basically. Yep,
absolutely. And I think it's important to note that the Browns had 5 takeaways, but they also had no turnovers, and that means that Baker Mayfield snapped his interception streak, and Odell with a major assist there. So Baker had thrown at least 1 interception in the previous 8 games. That was the longest active streak of its nature in the NFL. So a clean game by the offense in terms of taking care of the ball, and Odell, a huge moment there for him to make that happen.
All right, guys. Who do we got next week? Who's
Cowboys.
up? Dallas.
On the road.
Yeah, they're up right now. They're playing Seattle. Close game.
Myles Garrett goes home to Arlington.
Ooh, oh, there's a
Baker Mayfield back in homecoming sports too.
Well, I think we're gonna wrap it here. We all have work to do that you should read in a couple hours, and we'll see you next week. All right, guys.
Good work,
Happy hunting.
everybody.
Thank you.